Alright, so I'm back. I'm finally ready to kick off this brand new Houdini series. And I just want to say, first of all, I will try to explain this to you as good as I can. And there will be, of course, a lot of mistakes that I will make along the way, because I'm also pretty new to Houdini. But as some of you might know me, always recording everything in one take, because I also want to show the mistakes that I'm making and how I try to solve them. I don't want to make a slick video where you just see a guy who types in numbers, because I don't think that you learn that much. So I think it's important for me that you also see my mistakes so that you can learn from them, and then you can also maybe find your own solutions how to solve them, or just simply do it my way. I'm just a normal human being. We're all making mistakes every day, right? And so yeah, I just hope that we make this work, and I can show you how you can make a little bit the transition from Cinema 4D over to Houdini. So I think we will jump right in, and I will try to explain everything as good as I can. I will handle you guys like you are absolutely new to Houdini. And so yeah. So this is what you get when you open up Houdini for the first time. A lot of buttons, a lot of stuff that we can do. Like I said before, Houdini is a complete, really big package that comes with basically everything that you will ever need. You can do muscles, you can do hair, you can do water simulations, you can do clouds, you can do pyro simulations, you can do dynamics, you can do everything that you can imagine you can do. And as you can see here, collision, particles, grains, rigid bodies, particle fluids, viscous fluids, oceans, fluid containers, what do I know, what we all, that there is so much stuff that you, crowd simulations, drive simulations, there is so much that you can do in Houdini, it probably never ends. So it's really like a really big package where you need a lot of time to learn. And the first thing before I want to dive deeper into Houdini is we just simply need to have a basic understanding how, first of all, how we can load geometry. Because I think I want to skip the modeling part a little bit. Maybe I will come back to modeling a little bit later on in a later chapter, because I think modeling is like really, well, let's say I think it's not the best intuitive way to do it inside of Houdini. I think there are better packages for modeling like Modo, like maybe Cinema 4D, now also with the new volumetric modeling mode that we have inside of Cinema 4D. And I think Autodesk Maya is still an absolute awesome application. I mean, all the big studios are still using it for modeling, and what do I know. So this is why we will just simply look at this when we have something modeled, when we have something finished, and then maybe we want to go over to Houdini and then maybe make some simulations or whatsoever. I just want to show you how we can shade stuff inside of Houdini, how we can texture stuff, how we can make our first renderings inside of Houdini. Because if you want to be a rendering artist, or if you want to be a shading artist, or texturing artist, or what do I know, or lighting artist, lighting TD, or whatsoever, you probably need to know Houdini, and this is what this is all about. And I really need to say, Houdini is not that easy to learn, but when you get into it, you really start to like it. And I really need to say I already like it a lot, to be honest. Okay, so without further ado, and sorry for the long speech here, we will just simply start. So here on the right, you see a lot of stuff which we can change, which has only to do here with the viewport. So you can see right here, we could change here to a high quality lighting, so we get a little bit better lighting in the scene in the basic viewport. High quality lighting with shadows, we could change that as well. And the rest you can really read on your own. Display points, display normals, and so on. So here we can display the reference plane or not. We can check this off. So this is everything here basically has to do with the viewport, and this here will later on be the most important thing, because this will lock our camera so we're not jumping out of the camera constantly. Which just simply seems to happen in Houdini if you don't push this button. This is not a bug, this is actually intended by side effects, so yeah. And here on the left side you have the different things that you can do, like you can move, you have the move tool here, you have the rotate tool, you have the scale. The good thing is you always see the shortcut, so if you want to move something we can just simply press the T key on our keyboard, and we get to move things. R is rotate, which is good, because R for rotate, yeah, fine. And scale is on E. And then we have this multi-tool here, which is, well, I just simply call it multi-tool. And if you click on enter, you can see we are getting this multi-tool here. And as soon as we have an object in the scene, then we can just simply, with this one tool, we can scale, rotate, and move all at once if we want, which comes in pretty handy. And here you can see you have the snapping thing. So it's basically like in Cinema 4D. The only thing here is that you also have the snapping tools here on the left side in Cinema 4D. But then here you can change between poly mode, edges, and points, and so on here on the left side. This is a little bit different inside here of Houdini. But I will show you everything, also how you can manipulate geometry a little bit, and so on and so on. Okay, so basically this is here the working area which we will be working in. You can also change this here to a tree view, so it looks a little bit more familiar to Cinema 4D, or to the outliner in Autodesk if you're using Maya. The most important things for us will be here, I will work with this normal mode, and I would also recommend you that you forget a little bit about this tree view maybe that you learned inside of Cinema 4D and just simply keep working with this. In the end, it doesn't really matter. It really depends on how you just simply feel better. And you can see we have here different stages. We have CH, we have image, we have MAT, which basically stands for material, of course. We have OBJ, which stands for object. We have then out, which stands for output, and we have the shop, which stands also for something which is basically the old shader creation inside of Houdini, which not really gets used often anymore, only if you wanna maybe program or build your own shader really from the ground up. So you really need to know what you're doing if you're using this here. And there are also some nice tutorials out there, so you can really learn how you can build your shader from the ground up and what the shader can do in the end. I personally, if you don't have like a really good understanding of how shaders are really work in the background, I would just simply not use this. We will just simply work here with the material thing. This is also how a lot of artists work with this, because it's really good. When Houdini was older, this wasn't working so well, but for now everything is absolutely perfect. So also Mantra, the render engine, is really absolutely amazing and really good, and you can achieve with it the best realistic results, basically the same results that you can achieve with Arnold. The thing is, probably with Arnold you can push through a little bit more geometry than with Mantra. But anyway, that's basically the only difference, I guess. There are a little bit more difference, of course, between those two render engines, but yeah, we will not go into depth in that right now. Sorry, guys. So, yeah, this will be about rendering. I will show you how you can create lights, how you can create a little bit of a scene, how you can load OBJs or your own geometry inside of Houdini, and we will do this right now. So let's go to the OBJ object right here, and we will basically, if you really want, we could do everything here, even the material creation, because if you want to create a material, you can do it here in the mat, or we could also do it in the object stage, and I will show you a little bit later on how we'll do this. So for now, just a second, let me show you something. We can go, I have here some bookmarks, and I will show you this quickly. There are a lot of funny sites actually that we can use to get some free models. Okay, this was not intended to overwrite this here. First of all, there's a site that is called 3dscans.com, which is really cool because there is a lot of stuff that you can get for free. Maybe you have seen some of the models used in some tutorials already, maybe this rhino or this tiger, or I'm not sure if this is a tiger or panther or something like that. And I will be using those dogs from this site, but in the end it doesn't really matter. Just simply choose a model that you want to choose, that you like. The model doesn't really matter in any kind of way, and you can also go to this site and download here some models, the Happy Buddha maybe, or the Stanford Bunny, which is kind of famous, or here the Dabrovich sponsor and the Chinese dragon, and what do I know. So there's a lot of stuff that you can download that you can use maybe for this tutorial, if you don't want to use what I'm using, and I will give you the links right in the description under this video, and so you can download as much as you want. Okay, so I will first of all, if we want to create here something, if we want to load geometry, we just simply need to say, okay, Houdini, I want to load some geometry. So everything you want to do is just do a right click in here, and then it says type to search, or you can just simply search it here. So we could load it here, geometry, or just simply type in geo, and then I have it geometry, and I will load that. And this blue indicator right here is also kind of important, because as soon as I click this off, I will not see anything anymore in the viewport. It's basically the display button, and as soon as I tick this on, I will see something in the viewport. We don't have any geometry loaded by now, so this is why we don't see anything, but I'm just telling you this for later on. So we need to make a double click, so we are now inside the geometry, and now we can really load something. So we do a right click, and we will search for file, because we want to load a file, and just simply drop this down here. And as you can see, everything is node based here, so we can just always connect your nodes and stuff like that. And I'm not really a node based fan, I'm really not, but to be honest, it really makes life a lot easier when you're using nodes. And it can be when you have a really big scene, and it's just way better that you're working with a node-based system, because then it's just easier to adjust things basically. And as you can see here in the tree view, you could also switch here now to the tree view if you like this a little bit more. And then you can see here in the object we have a geo, and here we have a file loaded, and so on and so on. So you can use here the object view as well, of course, if you want to handle this. But I'm not sure if you can really, in this tree view, if you can create something here. Let me see if this works even. If it does work. I don't think so, to be honest. I'm not really sure. I think you really have to create things really here in this object view, basically. So let's go back and let's rename this first of all. I will call this Who is a Good Boy, because this will be where our dogs will be. And the file here will just simply be called dogs.obj. And now here in where it says geometry file, as soon as we have selected this here, we can load our geometry file. So we'll just go and do that and switch to our desktop. And I have already downloaded those dogs and unzipped them. And we can just simply go accept and load it. As you can see, Houdini will now need some time, because this is a lot of geometry. So as you can see here, Houdini is a little bit working, and in a second we should see it. I think we can already see it. The thing is that the thing is probably not here at the origin right now. It's somewhere in the scene, and so we would need to search for it. So what we can do is we can hold down the Alt key and then move our middle mouse button to zoom, Alt and left click to rotate, and Alt and pressing the middle mouse button to drag, basically. So it's not really a lot of difference to Cinema 4D. The only thing is that you need to hold down the Alt key and the middle mouse button to zoom. That's the only difference to Cinema 4D, and also I think to Autodesk Maya. But that's basically it. So as you can see, the dog is really, really big, like way too big. That can't be good, because the numbers that you see here in Houdini on the floor, these are actually meters. So this is 0 meters, 5 meters, 10 meters, and so on and so on. So this is now really, really big, so like way too big. So I think the dog has something like 25 or 50 meters or something like that. That can't be good. So first of all, what we can do to see the dog completely is we can hit the F key on our keyboard. I think we need to go out here in the object mode and select this here, our geometry, and then click F. This is still not working. Why is that? I just don't know. Why is framing not? Maybe you have to click Shift F. Sorry, not Shift F. You have to click spacebar F. Hold down spacebar and then click F, and then you focus on the object that you have selected here, which is kind of nice. So as you can see, the dog is really, really big. It's something around 50 meters, probably from 25 here to 75. meters. So we need to make this a little bit smaller, and there are different ways to do this in Houdini. As you can see here in the geometry, we also have here a scale value already where we could scale this down. And then we could also do this inside of here, which I think is a little bit better. So normally you know those controls here inside of Cinema 4D. So translate, rotate. So translate is basically X, Y, and Z, movement, rotation, scale, and then also the pivot and so on and so on. And the uniform scale, we could also take this down like this here. So this comes pretty in handy, and you can use this, but I think a better way and a cleaner way is to use the transform node. And what we can do is we can do a jump in here, do a right click, and just simply search for transform. And this transform node will give us all the abilities that we need. Also translate, rotate, scale, shear, uniform scale, and so on and so on. The thing is, we need to connect this first of all. So what you can do is just simply click here on this little point and then connect it down to the transform. And now it's connected, and now also our transform will be working. What you also can do, if I delete this, just simply do a right click, just go over this point here and then do a right click and then type in transform and then just simply drop it with the left mouse button, and you can see we are connected. Now we can use this transform to make this a little bit smaller. We can use this uniform scale here if we want to. And we could also use here the scale in the X, Y, and Z if we want to scale it in some kind of direction a little bit differently. I think for us it's just fine if we're using the uniform scale, and I will just simply put this to 0.1. The thing is, as you can see, now we have two dogs in our scene, and you probably ask yourself why. This is why, because the dog here, the OBJ file is still displayed, and the transform node is not active. So I will just simply change the display here to the transform node. And as you can see, now we're only seeing one dog in our scene. And as soon as we're adding here more nodes, just simply make sure that the display is always activated on the last node here, so that you really see the latest thing inside of Houdini. And something is really not working with the zoom here today. I don't know what's going on, to be honest, but it's kind of weird. But hopefully this will work. Anyway, as you can see, the dog is not really at the center of the scene. So what we can do is here in the transform node, there's a really, really nice button which is called Move Centroid to Origin. And if you click this, you can see our dog automatically jumps into the middle here, which is kind of nice. The only problem is that the dog is not really aligned to the grid. So we can just simply do this by activating here the handle mode and then use this here and just simply pull this up and pull this up and pull this up like this. And now we have our dogs. And I personally think I want to do a shot, maybe I want to rotate this a little bit. I think I want to look at the dogs something like this, I think I like this a lot. So I will bring in the view, how I want to make the final shot, maybe a little bit more. I think from down here it might look really, really nice. Something like this, maybe. And let's jump back to the object level. And if we want to create now a camera, we're also doing this here in the object level. And if you want to create a camera from the view that we have, which automatically happens in Cinema 4D as soon as you click on the camera, it's not the same in Houdini. If I just click here with a left click here on camera, or if I do a right click here and type in camera, which is the same thing, you can create it here or you can create it here, is that the camera will be created at some certain points, but not at the point where I want to have this camera actually, which kind of sucks. So let me click here on the camera again. I think maybe it's not even working here. I think if we click this here, then we have to drag it out here and drop the camera somewhere here in the scene. So as soon as you click here only with a left click, then you have to drop it somewhere here in the scene with a left mouse button, and then we have our camera. If you want to create our view from our camera where we are at the moment, just simply hold down the control button and now make a left click, and our camera automatically gets created where we are at the moment. As you can see, we are in our camera right now. which is pretty cool. But as soon as we're doing some movement in the viewport, as soon as we zoom out, or if we rotate, or if we drag, we completely drop out of the camera, which is really not so cool at all. So what we need to do to jump back into our camera, first of all, let me just simply call this Dominic camera here. What we need to do to jump back into our camera, you have here this little drop down, and then you can just simply, and it says no camera selected right now. So we can just go here and go Dominic camera. If you have multiple cameras, you will see a lot of different cameras here, and then just simply can switch it accordingly. So we jump into Dominic camera, and if we now want to move our camera or move with the camera in the viewport, you just have to lock the camera up right here. So just simply click this here, and now you're locked to the camera, and now you can see when I'm moving, you will see that the camera is moving with me, which is really nice. And as soon as you want to jump out of the camera, you just simply have to unlock it and do some movement in the scene, and you're jumping out of the camera. Okay, so before I go on, I need to smoke a little cigarette, and I also need to make a sip of my tea. I'm really sorry about that. So cheers, everybody. But actually, this is really just a peppermint tea, to be honest, and it's not that good, I need to say. Nah, not really that tasty. Not really that tasty. Anyway. So I really will try to push a lot of information into you. And this is why we also need to make a little bit of pauses, I think, as well, where we all drink a little bit something. Because this will really be a lot to remember, but you can watch this video, of course, over and over again. And I will try to teach it as slowly as I can, so that you really understand it. So, we did create the camera, so I want to tell you now a little bit something, how we can use this camera, how you can set up a DOF, how you can make some changes, how you can change the focal lengths, how you can change the rendering, basically the resolution. You also have to do this in the camera. So let's just simply select our camera right here. And by the way, you can also jump into the camera if you want to, and then you can see where the camera is at, and so on, X form, tag, and then cam origin. I will not really explain you this right now. I think it's just enough if we keep it basic here. So as you can see here, we can also transform the camera up in this level, so we can also tell the camera where it should be looking at, and so on and so on. Here in the render, we don't see much at all, and it's not really important. What is really important is here the view. So we can just simply change here the IQ scale. So as you can see, this our camera just simply gets bigger. I don't know how much this really makes kind of a sense. Let's maybe keep it at 3 so we can just simply see our camera a little bit better in the scene. Here we can change the final resolution, the final output that we want to have. I think I will just simply make this full HD for now, and let me change the camera maybe to 4 so we can see it really good, and make this here 1080. And pixel aspect ratio we can change the focal lengths, and let's jump into the camera for now and lock it, and maybe let's give it a 120mm camera. As you can see, this looks now something like this. Might be a little bit too close, so we can just simply go back here with the camera maybe a little bit like this. But I don't even know if I really like this, if I make this with a 120mm. Well, maybe we could try it. I'm not sure. I think 50 was just fine. Let's just go back. I just want to show you that you can change here whatever you want. Okay. This is just simply the focal lengths that you can type in here if you want to. And let me go back like this. Yes, I do like that, and I think I have to change the camera down a little bit like this. And I think we have to rotate our dog later on a little bit, because I think this is not completely straight, but we really don't have to worry about this right now. Okay, then we can also change the near clipping and far clipping if you want to. So basically the same that we could do inside of Cinema 4D. The only thing is that we can type in here the resolution. Let me change this here back to 1080. This is like the really Only difference that we can type in here the resolution. If you want to have a depth of field, we have to jump out of the camera. And let me show you this quickly. And I really hope that I do remember this right now, how we can make the depth of field work here. I think you have to use here this multi-tool. Because as you can see, if you have this transform tool here or the rotate tool, of course we could rotate and move our camera. And also, well, we cannot scale it. But as soon as we click this, we get a lot of options as soon as we click here the camera. And as you can see, here we have now some more options what we could do with the camera. And this here actually, this cube here in front shows where the camera should be pointing at. So we can move this here. So this basically gives us the focus where the camera should be focusing on. And we could also change here the view. How can I change the view again? Let me quickly think. I think it was here. We could also jump here to 4 views so we can see it from all kind of sides. And then we could adjust this here a little bit better where our focus point should be. Let me just simply click here Shift F in this window. So this is the front view. This will not help so much. No, this is the right view actually. Okay, so I think we need the front view here. Let me also hit Shift F in this thing, and as you can see now, I could adjust this here a little bit better where our focus point should be. I think right here at the dog's nose maybe. Or probably at the eyes. Probably you want to aim at the eyes. So this is where the soul sits basically. So this is why you want to aim there. And here in the top view we could also hit spacebar F. And then zoom out a little bit, because as you can see, this is now, of course, focusing on the dogs. Maybe we could change this over here, and now it should really point at the dogs here. And here we will jump into the camera in our perspective view, and now we'll see what we get. That's not really what I like, because this is now really set to the left, so we're not focusing on the eyes, I think. We will just simply change this over here till we have a really straight up view here, something like this. But we will basically focusing the dog. So everything that comes in front of the camera or in the back of the camera, in front of the dogs or behind the dogs, will be a little bit out of focus. So let's jump back here into our single view, and also let's jump out of the camera. And I think I did something nasty here, because now I have this weird rotation which I don't like, which is in modo what you get all the time, but I hate this, to be honest, to move like this. And what did I do? I think I did change here something, but I don't know how, to be honest. And I want to go back to my normal movement, because I really hate to rotate like this. But I think for now we just have to live with that. I think there's some kind of lock button where you can lock this. I will just pause the video and see if I can get the movement right again. Alright, so I fixed it. I think it was spacebar and H or spacebar and G to push, and now it's working as intended. Let me try this again. Spacebar and H, spacebar and G. I don't know what exactly the problem was here, but it seems like this fixed it. I don't know why, but now it's working again. Houdini can be weird sometimes, a little bit. Sometimes, I don't know, things just simply change and I don't know why. Maybe it's me, maybe it's Houdini, I'm not sure. But we will just go on now. So I want to show you the depth of field here, right? So let's change back here to this thing. And what we can do now is we need to change this. Let me see this again. No, that's not it, sorry. Undo. There was a little bit of a slider. No, that's also not the slider that I'm talking about. Let me zoom in here a little bit so I can see this better. I think it's this thing here. No, it's not. Where was it again? Come on. It is somewhere. No, that's not it. To really tell now Houdini where the focal point should be. Okay, this is now kind of weird. Just a second. Sorry guys, really sorry about that. Okay, right, so we have to change here, I think, something in the camera. If we're doing a right click here, we have to change the handles here, I think, to focus. So let me jump into the camera first of all, or let me not jump into the camera. How was this working again? This is really kind of weird. I'm doing a tutorial here and don't know what I'm doing. That's absolutely amazing, I guess. And also I'm moving like this again, which I absolutely hate. So let me hit spacebar H and spacebar G. Let's see if this fixes it. Yeah, it does. Okay, perfect. I have to change the handles here. So we're just simply doing here, around here, a right click. Oops. And go. I think now we are in the right thing. So we need to have the focus handle. We can change here now different handles. So frustum handle, orientation handle. This is what we had before. So as you can see, this is where we adjusted our focus point. And now we have to do a right click here and move to focus handle. And now we can tell Houdini, okay, everything that is in between this point here, as you can see, and the other point seems like to be really, really far away. I think everything between this point and this point here. Oops, no, that's so wrong. I think I'm doing something wrong here again. Yeah, this thing here. You just have to click this thing here. So this is our focus point basically that we adjusted before. And this is now what really should be in focus. So we could try to bring this point here a little bit up like this and then make this smaller. So now only our dog will be in focus. Everything that is between this line will be in focus and everything else will be out of focus. So let me just drop a quick test sphere here. Or before I do anything else, let's create a new camera. Let's do this all over again. So right click here, or if we're having the right view, let's search for our view that we want to do. Let's like this. Okay, so we have the dogs in like we want it, how we want to do our final shot maybe. Now we go control left click to create the camera from view. Let's lock it up and let's call this again Dominic camera. Then we can set here our resolution. So let's make this here full HD. Or let's maybe leave it like this. Let's leave it 1920 by 720 or maybe 800. I do like it. Okay, so that's good. Let's move the camera maybe a little bit more upwards. Maybe something like this. That's good. Okay. I like it. Then we can set our focal length, but we will just leave it at 50. And now we want to jump out of the camera and set our focal point. So we will just use here this multi-handle and set our focal point here to the dogs. And we will jump into the 4 view here so we can adjust this here a little bit better. And let's bring the focal point here to the dogs and then also up here. We would need to see that. Yes, it's somewhere over here, which is not really good right now. So let's bring it over here. And we will bring this somehow in the middle. Let me jump here into the camera so I'm seeing what I'm doing here a little bit better. And I think this is now, there is now some weird rotation maybe of the camera. So we can jump into the camera here, go to transform. And I don't know why this is completely rotated here. So let me just simply set this here all to 0. Zero this out. And let me search for my dog now, which is kind of weird. Let me go control spacebar F. No, this will not help. Let me select this and then control F. Still not working. Okay. Just a second. Let me jump out here of the camera. Come on. Let me jump out. Unlock it. Okay, perfect. Where's our dog in the scene? Where is my camera? Okay. So I have to rotate the camera here now a little bit for 90 degrees. And you can hold down the control key if you want to move only in like 45, 90 degrees, 180 and so on and so on. So we'll just move it for 90 degrees. Let me jump back into the camera. Okay, now I can see my dogs. Let me move my camera a little bit. Oh, I have to jump into the camera, of course, lock it. And now I can focus on my dogs like this. Okay. And now we'll go to the multi-transform tool and select here the camera and see that I can get the focal point right. The focal point should be now somewhere in the middle here. I will try to bring it more here at the beginning of the dogs of this plate, and here I think we can just simply leave it. So this is how we do it for now. So we will jump back into our single view here, jump out of the camera, and now we're just simply doing a right click here, switching the mode to focus handle, where we could also adjust this here, this point, and now we just simply click on this little arrow here and make this smaller, and we will just change here the focus point a little bit more forward like this, so that our dogs are really in focus and everything that is in between will be out of focus. So let me create here a quick sphere. We can just go geometry and call this test sphere and jump in there and go sphere. So we're creating a sphere, and maybe change this here from primitive to polygon mesh and give it a little bit more rows and a little bit more columns. Doesn't really matter for this test. And we can just simply move this sphere now in front of the camera. Hopefully we can do that. Should be fine. Let's jump into the camera and see if we can see the sphere. No, not really good enough. So let's jump out of there and let's take this sphere and we will bring it a little bit over here. And let's jump back into the camera. Whoops. Why is this not working now? Okay. Oh, I'm in the camera. I did change the camera now, which is not good. Okay. Let me adjust my camera quickly. Like this. Did not lock it. This is really something you just have to get used to. This locking the camera thing is just something that you will use like over and over and over again. Okay, so basically what should happen now, this sphere should get a little bit out of focus and our dogs should be in focus. So the only thing that I will do, I will just make this sphere here a little bit smaller and bring it more down like this. And the last thing that we need to do, we don't have a depth of field yet, because we can change here to the render view if we want to render things out, or just to simply to get a preview of this all. So let's just simply jump to render view. And also what the render view will do for us, as soon as we click render here, it will create a render node for us, which we need for final rendering here in the output. But as soon as we're clicking here rendering, Houdini will do this automatically for us. So as you can see, when I zoom out here a little bit and zoom in, here's my mantra IPR node now, and I will just simply try to render something. So as you can see, we don't have any lights in the scene, we don't have anything else, so this is why it just looks black and white. And also our sphere is not out of focus. So we need to go into this mantra IPR, and this is where basically our render settings are sitting, where we can do the optimizing, where we can do a lot of other stuff, and we can go here to rendering and change first of all from ray tracing to physical based rendering, which is probably the mode you want to use for final rendering. And then you're also getting those handles here, which we will talk about a little bit later. This is basically, it does look like kind of in Arnold, diffuse quality, global quality, and so on, but we will talk about this later. Also pixel samples will be important for us later on. So what we can do, what we need to do is we need to enable depth of field right here. So let's tick this on, and we should get somehow a little bit of a depth of field, really depending on, I think we should, to make this test a little bit better here, because this wasn't really intended to be a depth of field test. But now that we are on it, I will just simply try to jump out here of the camera and look at the handles again, because maybe I changed something a little bit. Yes, as you can see, this is not focused here on the dogs anymore, because I did change my camera before a little bit. And let me make this smaller. So maybe we only have here the front of the dogs in focus and the rest gets out of focus. And I will try to move this sphere here a little bit more into the back. Just like this, maybe, and let me jump back into the camera and lock it. And now this sphere should get out of focus. As you can see, yes. Already got rendered, and as you can see, now we're getting here a depth of field. So this sphere starts to get out of focus, and the dog's starting to get to be in focus actually, which is pretty nice, and this is what we want. So this is how you set up a basic depth of field inside of Houdini. Of course, you can play around with this a little bit more to make the depth of field a little bit better, and so on and so on. But that's basically it for now for the depth of field. I will just leave these things as they are. I will just move my dog around here a little bit. So I jump in here into my transform node that I created. And I think I just want to have here a little bit of rotation of the dog. Actually something like this maybe. I just want it to be a little bit more whoop. Okay, this is not working really good because this is a lot of geometry. We could also reduce the geometry of those dogs if we want to. There is a really nice node which is called, is it really called reduce? Poly reduce. Yes, we could use this poly reduce if you want to, but I think for this test scene it's just fine. I mean, we could drop it under the transform. Let's do a poly reduce, and I mean, I think the poly reduce. I think I did do this wrong. The input is actually here. Come on. Yes. Okay. And as you can see now, Houdini starts to work right away. We would need to check off here the auto update, so it's not doing this automatically as soon as I'm connecting this node here. So as soon as I do this here to manual and do the same thing again, let's create this poly reduce. And when I connect this here now, you will see Houdini is doing nothing. And only if I click here on update now Houdini starts working, as you can see, and will analyze the geometry. And will now bring it to a percentage to keep, which is now at 100, so it doesn't reduce anything. We could also change this here to percentage of input point counts, output poly counts, and output point count. So right now, I think we have something. If I'm doing here a middle mouse click over my file, we're having 1.2 million points right now in the scene. So I could tell, okay, please just leave me with around 100,000 points. That's just fine for this scene. And then I'm clicking here on update, and now Houdini will calculate this and bring this down to 100,000 points, and will try to keep the mesh as good as possible. So still working, as you can see, 81%, 85, 90%, 99, and now it's reduced. And I think the image is still fine, but we're having a lot of less polygons here now, which is pretty nice, and also pretty good. But I think for this tutorial I can just simply leave it as it is. I think maybe for the transform it makes a little bit of a difference, so that I can move this now easily than before. But I think it's not really working that good. Okay, it's working again. We'll just click on escape here. And I will delete this poly reduce, I think. Because I don't think we need it, to be honest. Okay, still working. Come on, Houdini, you can stop it now. It's fine. It's fine. We are fine. And I think I just lost my dog, actually. It's now somewhere. Okay, here we go. Here's our dog again. I will just change this back. Oh, I think this was wrong. I think I have to take this back, actually. Yes. And I will just rotate this here a little bit. Like maybe for 2 degrees or something like that. Let's maybe make it 20. Let's see what's happening. Okay, this is like this. Sorry, this was wrong. Let's maybe do this here with 10 degrees or something. 10 degrees will be way too much. Let's do this here with 5 degrees maybe. And I will also keep this back up to auto update. Okay, this was way too much. Let maybe just 1 degrees. I think that's just fine. And I will rotate my dogs a little bit back, like maybe for 30 degrees or something like that. Or maybe minus 30. I think I like it like that actually, if the dogs look like this. Let me jump back into the camera. And we will move up here with the camera a little bit, I think. Yeah, like this maybe. And maybe we have to bring back here the rotation to 0. Yeah, might be fine. Okay, anyway. That's just me playing around. Sorry about that. So the next thing we want to do is we want to create another geometry, and we will just simply call this grid for now. It's just a simple plane actually. Plane is just a name that we would use inside of Cinema 4D. So let's type in grid, or let's just simply call it plane. Maybe we'll just let's call it grid, and we will make this grid here a little bit bigger. Actually, I'm not doing this here. Here in the size, I will just make this, I don't know, 50-50 or maybe 100-100 might be just fine. And let me unlock the camera so I can switch out of there. And as you can see now, we're having a really, really big plane here. And what we can do, there is also the same deformer inside of Cinema 4D. So we can just search for an... Oh my god, what is it called again? What is the deformer called? I think a bend. Yes, here we have a bend deformer, and we can just connect this here. Tada boom, bada bam. And then we can activate here, so it gets displayed. And as you can see, we're getting now this really, really nice kind of display how this thing will bend if we bend it now. So let's just simply do this. And let's bring this here up to 90%. Maybe that's a little bit too much. Maybe not. As you can see, that's really cool. And we could also drop in a transform node down here. Let me connect this. I should really learn to connect this just by right click here on the point and then transform so it gets automatically connected. You should do that as well. And now we can just simply move this thing here a little bit more into the back. And let me activate the transform so we know what we're actually doing. And I think we can give this a little bit less subdivisions so that it bends maybe a little bit more. So maybe something like this, like maybe 4 or something like this. And then here columns, we don't really need much. We can just live with 2 here. And then we can just drop a subdivide node. So basically like we would subdivide inside of Cinema 4D. So subdivide. And I did again not the trick with right clicking here, so it gets automatically connected. Subdivide. And now we're getting some nice subdivisions. Let's activate this and display this. And now we can give this more depth so that it gets a little bit more smoothed out. So 2, I think 3 might be just fine. And I will add here a little bit more rows. Yeah, maybe something like this. And I will bring this here, move this here a little bit more into the back. Like this. And I think we're just fine. And this is how we created our nice ramp. Was really easy, right? And I think this... I don't know, first of all, this here looks a little bit intimidating. Oh my god, I need to drop a bend node, and I need to drop a transform, and I need to drop a subdivide. But basically in Cinema 4D, you're doing exactly the same. You're going up here, then you're going to deformers, then you're dropping down the bends here in the tree view. Then, okay, you don't need to use the transform node, you just simply move it around in the scene, or do it here, down here with the different, I don't know, things that you can type in. You just simply do it with numbers, and then you go up here and drop in a subdivision to make this a little bit more smooth out. And this is exactly what we're doing here. But I think this way it's just simply way more intuitive, to be honest. And I don't know, I really start to liking it, which is kind of weird for me, to be honest. I'm a little bit afraid of myself right now. So yeah. As you can see, the ramp is not really right now, so we have to rotate it here. I forgot that our camera is coming from this direction, so we just go into our transform node and we'll just do a rotation here for holding down the control key, so it's only getting moved for 90 degrees, and then we just simply keep moving this till it fits like this, and we move it a little bit into the back, so that our dogs start to appear again, and we will see that our dogs are sitting. Something is here really wrong with the zoom. That's the only thing that pisses me off right now. I'm not sure what it is. It could also be my mouse, that my mouse maybe is a little bit dead already. If you want to help me with a new mouse, you can sponsor me on Patreon. So I can get a new mouse maybe. But anyway, that should not really, only if you want to. That is, yeah. You can watch all my tutorials always for free. Okay, so anyway, let's move this back here a little bit more. This thingy here, yeah, perfect. Okay, and now let's jump back into our camera. As you can see, we have now our perfect ramp, which is so cool. So if you're going here to the render view now, you can see we still have our depth of field working. I will just bring in the sphere a little bit more because we will do a little bit more tests later on, I think, with this sphere. Let me jump out of the camera and let's just move the sphere here a little bit more. Up here and then also up here. And okay, we need to move it up a little bit more. We could also enable snapping to make this better and easier, but yeah, I don't think it's necessary right now. And let me jump back into the camera and let's see here in the render view if we're still getting a depth of field. Yes, we're doing. We do getting a depth of field, which is really nice, I guess. And let's move down the sphere here. Let's move it a little bit more to the left. To the left, to the left. Oh, come on. Yeah, okay, perfect. And I think we could place another sphere. If you want to duplicate something, just hold down the Alt key and drag and drop. I think we could also position another sphere like really here in the back, to be honest. But I think I have to switch out of my camera and just I don't know, let's just simply bring it into the back. Something like this maybe. So we're really seeing what is going on. Let me jump into the camera and let me bring the sphere over here a little bit. And now if we're doing a render view, you can see this is step out of focus and this is out of focus and our dogs are still in focus, which is pretty nice. Okay, anyway. So this was now me moving stuff around and also show you how you can make really kind of easily a studio ramp and what we can do with the camera, how we can set up a depth of field, how we can change the focal lengths, how we can change the resolution, how we do some basic preview rendering, and also how we change here in the render, here in the output in Mantra IPR, how we change the render engine from ray tracing to physical based render engine. Mantra is, by the way, a path tracer and also kind of slow like Arnold is, but also really good, which is absolutely okay. And I mean, being slow is absolutely okay. There's a lot of things to calculate sometimes. And yeah, it's still an awesome renderer, so it's really absolutely good. And what else did I show you? How you can change the resolution, how you enable depth of field in here, and about those render settings we will really talk about this in the last chapter, or maybe somewhere in between when we want to optimize the scene a little bit more. So yeah, I think right here I will make another sip from my tea, because I think we need a little pause now. And I think I need another cigarette. And as some of you guys know me, you know that I'm a heavy smoker and I'm not proud of it. And if any kids are seeing this, guys, never start to smoke. Never, ever do it. It's such a bad, it's so hard to quit smoking actually. It's really hard. It's like super hard. For me at least. So please never start it so you don't have to think about quitting. That's really good. Another thing that I want to show you guys is, which is a really cool and nice feature, I think, inside of Houdini. If you want to have rendered something, you can tell Houdini where you want to have stuff rendered. And only if you're clicking the left mouse button. So as you can see now, Houdini is rendering everywhere, basically. And it's also doing a progressive rendering, so we're getting the result over time. And it gets more clean and more clean. But let's say I want to see this sphere here in the front first of all rendered out, and want to see how the depth of field looks here. What we can do is just simply hold down the left mouse button here over the sphere, and then the sphere gets rendered first. And let's say I want to have this rendered out in the back. Okay, then this gets rendered first. Or let's say I want to have the dog's head first of all. Then I can just hold this down. As you can see, now the dog's head gets clean first, which is a really nice feature. What you also can do is you can tick off the refinement rendering, so it switches to a bucket rendering mode and gives us the final result after it's finished. So as you can see now, it's working. And you can do the exact same thing in this mode as well. So let's say I want to have this sphere here first of all, I can click here. I want to have this sphere, I can click here. I want to have this part here first of all, let's just do a left click right here, which is, I love it. I just simply love it. I mean, it's just like kind of a gimmick, but it's really, really cool. And if you don't want to have that this always gets automatically rendered as soon as you change something in the scene, you can just simply tick it off here, auto update. And then the render engine will only start again when we click here on refresh or on rendering here. But let's change back to progressive, and let's change also back to auto update, which is just fine. And let's go back to our scene view. So let's, first of all, let's call this here, I don't know, DOF sphere near, and let's call this DOF sphere far. Who's a good boy is our dogs, of course, and the grid is our basic, or let's just simply, let's not call it grid, let's call it ramp background. And we will just keep our geometry here, nice sorted, so this is our whole geometry, this is our camera, and now we'll start creating some lights. And we can do a right click right here. We're also doing this here in the object level. So we're doing our geometry here in the object level, we're doing our camera here in the object level, and now we'll start to creating some lights. So I just have to type in light here, and as you can see, we're getting here a lot of stuff that we can create. These are actually pixel lights, as you can see, so PXR stands for pixar, and we will jump into RenderMan at a later point, and also into Arnold and into Redshift. But for now, we'll just leave this out. So the only thing that is interesting for you is the skylight, if you want to use one. Portal light, if you, I don't know, maybe doing interiors or something like that. Indirect light, GI light, environment light, caustic light, ambient light, light template, and light. We will just simply work with a normal area light right here. So we'll just simply do a click and create it here, drop it with a left mouse button. And here we can change the type. We have, right now we have a point light, or basically a spotlight. We can change this here to a line light. We can change this here to a grid light, to a disc, to a sphere, to a tube, or whatever we want. And I will just simply change this here to a grid, so basically to a plain area light. And then we will just simply, if you want to jump into the light, you can do that, and you can see how much nodes are really connected here to this light actually. And if you want to check this out, you can do that. I will basically not do this and jump just back into my object level, and here I have my light, and I will call this left because this will be our left light. And then I will just move the light over here and jump out of my camera actually. And what we can do also here, if we jump in here to light, I think, no, here on the light, I think it was, we can make this here bigger, or was this in transform? No. Yeah, here area light options. We need to switch here to area light options, and then we can change here the area size, and we will make this maybe, I don't know, let's maybe go 2020 or something like that. Let's see how big this light really is. Kinda big. But I do like it actually. I think we need a little bit of a bigger light. And then we can just simply move it over here. And move it upwards. Oops, not rotating, sorry. I will just switch here into the transform tool actually. Or hit the T key on my keyboard. So not getting so much weird handles. Might be really a little bit big, but I think it's just fine. And I will bring it here to the edge of our ramp actually. And I will just simply duplicate this now, so holding down Alt and drag and drop, and call this here right. And then I jump into my rotate tool by hitting the R key and just holding down Control and rotating it for 180 degrees, hitting the T key, move the move tool, and bring it over here. So like this, perfect, I think. Let me check this from this perspective. Yes, looking good. And then we will duplicate this once more and call this here top. And go into the rotate tool, holding down Control, 90 degrees, and T for the move tool, and I will bring it in like this, over the dog, bring it up a little bit like this, and I think this should be fine. So this is our left, right, and top light, so we're having now some kind of studio lighting. And if you're going now into our render view, you will see that this changes completely, but we don't have enough light in the scene for now. It's just way too dark. So what we can do here is we just simply, first of all, we will switch off the top and the right light. So let's select both by holding down the left mouse key, the left mouse button, and just simply drag this out. And we will just simply switch off here enabling, so those lights are not working anymore, only the left light is working. And now you can work here with two different things. We can work with the intensity, or we can work with the exposure. If you're working in a studio environment and you might have a director or something like that, he might say something like switch down the light by 1 stop or something like that. So there, in this case, it would be better to work with exposure, so you know exactly how much the director really wants to have this light turned down. You can also work here with the intensity, actually, if you want to. And this is what I will be doing, because I have no director behind me that is telling me stuff right now. So I think 50 is not enough here. I think we have to go higher, maybe 160 or something like that. I think it's still not enough. Maybe it's like, maybe 300 works for us. I'm not sure if this is enough. Maybe we have even to go 500 or something like this. I think I like this a lot more. And I will make this maybe even a little bit more. Let's maybe make it 700. I mean, of course, we don't need to type in here such high values if you would make the area light a little bit bigger and bring it a little bit closer to the dogs. Since the distance is so far now from the dogs, of course, we have to push the intensity here really, really high. We can change the color here. I think I want to make this a little bit more warmish. Something like, I don't know, maybe something like this. This might be a little bit too much. Let's grab this orange here and let's just simply turn it down like this. I think I like it. If you want to use the exact same values like me, just simply write down here the RG and B values and type them in by hand if you want to have the same light. Okay, so we turn this off, now the left light, and turn on the right light actually. And let's also try it with intensity of 700. I think this should be just fine. So this is what the light from the right gives us, which is not too shabby. And I think I will make this a little bit bluish. So let's go bluish color and turn this down like this. I think that's fine. Here you can write down the RG and B values if you want to have the same values like me. And let's disable this and let's work with the top light. Let's enable the top light, our last light in the scene. And sorry, let's bring up the intensity to maybe 300. Let's see what we get. And I want to have this light really white, so we just leave it at white here. And I think 300 doesn't look too bad at all. I think it looks good. And we will try to turn on the right light as well. See what we get. Looking good. And now we will also turn on the left light. And as you can see, we have our basic light in the scene now. And it starts to looking pretty good, pretty nice. And one last thing that we want to bring in is an environment light, because we want to have a little bit more reflections later on the dogs and on everything else in the scene. And as you can see now, we can also see how our dog is really adjusted here. So I think first of all, we want to fix the dog so that it's really lying on the ground here. So let's jump in, go to our transform node here, and let's rotate this here maybe for 1. Yeah, and I think that's way better now. Now our dog is really standing kind of close to the floor. Looks good. And now we'll create our environment light. So let's do a right click and go ENV. And let's take the environment light and drop it down. And this is now basically where we can load an HDRi. And there is a really nice site that I will post in the description of this video, where you can download really nice HDRIs. The guy is called Maxime, and he's giving away on his site a really nice free indoor HDRI package, which is absolutely high quality, I think. And I think we will just go here maybe for this Sear HDRi. Well, actually it's an EXR file. It just simply stores, I think, a little bit more light data than the HDRi format actually does, which is pretty nice. And this is just simply, we just drop it to have a little bit more reflections in the end. And we will jump out of the camera now. And as you can see, also in Houdini, we can see what is going on, how our HDRi looks right now. And yeah, so this is our environment light. We can just simply call this HDRi. And we can also switch here the sampling quality, which we will probably need to do in the end a little bit maybe. And we can change a few other things here, which are also not that important. We could also rotate this HDRi, of course, if you want to. I just have here the transform, as you can see, we can do a rotation. I think we have to do this here in the middle. So if I'm typing in 30 degrees, you can see our HDRi is already rotating. But we will do this a little bit later on. Let me switch this here maybe to high quality lighting and shadows, so I can see a little bit better what's really happening when I'm moving the HDRi. Let's maybe do this here to 120, so it would look something like this. Let me look at the render view. Maybe the intensity of the HDRi is a little bit too high. I think we can turn this down to maybe 0.5 here. So we're not getting so much light from the HDRi actually, but I want to get some reflections. So yeah, I think that's just good. Yeah, okay, so that's fine for now. I think that's absolutely fine. We can switch out the HDRi later on if you want to, and I think I want to switch the dog, rotate the dog here a little bit more, maybe for 1.1 or something like that. I'm still not happy with that. Sorry, I always try to make things perfect, kinda. So yeah, I think now I like it. Now I like it better. And also I think I have to move up the sphere here in the back a little bit. Let me see. I think I did not use a transform mode, transform node here, right? So let me jump out of the camera and let me focus here on this. No, let me focus here on the sphere. Come on. No. No. Okay. Okay, this is not working. Okay, now it's working. Yeah, this sphere is a little bit inside the floor, which is not so good. I think we have to move it a little bit more upwards here. If I could find my handles, my sphere handles. I'm not sure where they are at actually. And also my mouse is not working that good right now. I will just try it like this. Okay, I can't find the handles right now, which is kind of weird. Doesn't matter. I will just move it up like this, like maybe at 1 or something like that. Okay, this was too much. 0.8 maybe. Let's see if that works. If I'm allowed to move in the scene here. Yes. No. Okay, 0.81 maybe. Yeah, this should be fine now. So that's not colliding with the grid anymore. Okay, perfect. Let's jump back to our camera. So we did set up our camera, we did set up our objects, we did set up a depth of field, we did set up our studio lighting, and now it's time for a little pause actually. So let me have a sip here of this tea. Let me light up another cigarette. And right now we will start out with creating materials. So as I said, there are two options how we can create materials. First of all, we could do it in here, in this matte thing, and as soon as we do a right click, we're only getting things that are related here to this matte channel actually. And here under shaders, we can create our shaders that we need. We can create a classic shader, a principal shader. These are those two shaders that you will work with in the most. But there's also a car paint shader, hair shaders if we will work with hair later on, which we will be doing. There's a pyro shader if you're doing fire simulations and so on and so on. A skin shader, toon shader, volume shader core if you're doing I don't know, explosions, clouds, whatsoever, and so on. But the good thing is, we don't need to leave this object level actually. What we can do here is we can create here a matte network. So we're just typing in matte here, and then we're getting a material network. And we can just simply drop it here. And as you can see, this is called, and I will just simply put it up here actually. So this is our matte network, and this is now actually linked to this thing. So every shader that we want to create, we can now also do in here, and we don't need to leave this object level here. So let's just jump in, and as soon as we're doing a right click, you can see we're getting the exact same options like we would get in here. And let's create our shader, and we will, most of the time you will work with a principal shader. The principal shader core is just simply a version of this here. So what you want to work is this principal shader right here. And we'll just simply create one and drop it here. And now there are two things or two ways how we can apply this shader to our object. First of all, we could drop it like this. Just simply hold down the left mouse key and drag and drop. And as you can see, we're already seeing here in the viewport some reflections. And if you're going here to the render view, you will see, okay, this object starts to have some reflections. Let me hold down here the left mouse button, so we can see really here what's happening here on the dog's head and how we can see the reflections already from the material that we just applied. So this is one way how we can apply the material. I personally think a better way to do this is if we delete this here, delete this principal shade, let's just simply delete it and create a new one. Actually, I don't need to do this like this, but I will just simply create a new shader, principal shader, and let's call this, I don't know, let's call this just simply dog shader for now. Okay, so we have this here. What we can do now is we can go back to our object level and jump into who is a good boy and drop here another node and just simply type in matte, and this will give us this material node here. Drop it down, connect it here, whoops, and then also activate it here. And now as we jump into here, into this, let me re-render this first of all. It seems like the material is still applied, which is kind of weird because there should be no material applied right now, but I think it still is. So what we need to do is we need to delete this here, who is a good boy. As soon as you click on this, and then you click here on render up here, you can see, okay, this material is applied right now, the dog shader. And as soon as we delete this out here, you will see no material is applied anymore. And we could also search here for shaders inside the OBJ, matte net, and then we could use this dog shader again and apply it. You could apply it like this. You can apply it with drag and drop. And I think the better method is if you do it inside of here, go create this material node and then go here material and search here for it. In the matte net, we use our dog shader, and now our material is applied. The thing is, as soon as you do it with this method that I prefer, and you also have here a material assigned in this upper level of the object level, it will automatically get overwritten by this material in here. So it will always use the material in here if you have one applied with this method, instead of using the material that you would have applied right here. So this is not working. Okay, so that's basically it. This is how we can apply a material in our scene or to our objects, which is, I think, kinda easy to do. And now we'll just simply start to playing with this shader a little bit more, and I will show you what you can do. So right now you see looks a little bit like kinda plastic. That's absolutely okay because we have an IOR of 1.5. Plastic would be probably something around 1.56, something like that. Roughness maybe down to something like 0.2, so we're getting a little bit more glossiness. And yeah, so as you can see, it really is also starts now to slow down things a little bit because Mantra has to calculate all the reflections and a little bit more, so that's not so cool, but it's okay. We will have a definitely nice preview here. I think it will be more than enough. What we can do now is we could also make this here metallic. And there's a really nice switch inside of Houdini, so we don't have to play around with much things. If we want to have a metal thing here now, silver, gold, bronze, what do I know, we just have to switch up here this metallic to 1, and you will see we start to getting a little bit of silver dogs. We could make this here, the base color, a little bit brighter, something like this. So we're getting a more reflective silver dog. And as you can see, it already starts to bring this out. I think I will change this here now from progressive rendering to a normal bucket rendering. So we're seeing a little bit faster what we are getting. And as you can see, we still have a lot of noise inside the picture. This is something that we will need to fix later on, so that we're really getting a clean image without any noise. This we have to do in the render settings of Mantra later on. But as you can see, we're already getting here a really nice silverish dog. And then we also could change here the reflectivity, of course. We could add another coat if we want to over it, so we're getting another reflection layer actually, if we want that. I mean, of course, there are some coated materials out there. Coats are basically something that you would use on a car or something like that, where you have more layers at once, but there would be a car shader here, as you can see. So car paint shader core is probably something that we could use for cars. But if you have some kind of plastic that is maybe multiple layered or something like that, then we can use here this coat layer as well. We could change back here from metallic to 0. And so we're getting back our plastic basically, as you can see. Now it's rendering again. And we're getting back our plastic. Now we could use here the coat, bring the coat up to 1, and bring the coat roughness to 0. And I think this will add already a coat. I'm not 100% sure right now. Reflect tint maybe also up. I think I need to change this back here to refinement, so I can see faster what's going on in the scene. And let's switch back the coat. And I think now we're getting a little bit of less spots here, as we would, or less reflectivity spots as we would get if we would change back the coat to 1 actually. So this is what we're getting here right now, and if we switch the coat here to 1, I think we're getting more reflectivity hotspots here. I'm not sure if I have to switch on here the metallic mode as well for this coat, but I don't think so. I'm not 100% sure. I have to read over this again, and I will give you a quick update. But anyway, if you wanna use here the transparency, so we wanna make glass or something like that, let's just simply switch this up to 1. And as you can see, we're already starting to getting some kind of glass here. The roughness is really high right now for glass, so this would be like kind of a frosted glass. Let's see it like this. So let's just simply change the roughness here down to maybe to 0.01. I think this would be a good value for glass. And the IOR maybe something between 1.5 and 1.6 for glass, I think is a good value. Let me change back here to bucket mode. And let's just simply render out the head here. This will probably take a little while. So I just want to show you this. I think I will just let it render. It will still be a little bit noisy, of course, because like I said, we need to fix the render settings, of course, accordingly to what materials we have in our scene and how Mantra should calculate this, because as you can see, this is still noisy. But of course, you can see that we're getting now somehow some kind of a glass dog or glass dogs. These are 2 dogs actually. So yeah, this is what transparency does. Also, if you want to create diamonds, of course, you can use here this dispersion option and the AT distance. This means basically how array must travel this distance within the object before it is completely colored by the transmission color. Shorter distance gives less tinting, longer distance gives a darker and more saturated version of the transmission color. So if you want to give this glass here a different color and also adjust the attunement distance here, this will give us also a different result. So we can make a red glass here if we want to. So let's use this red here maybe. And as you can see, Mantra will instantly start to work with that. And as you can see, we're already starting to getting here a little bit of a red glass. In the transmission color, I'm not sure if this base color is here still a little bit invited as well, yes. Which I think is kind of weird a little bit. So we need to change the base color and the transmission color, which is really weird. What happens if I turn this here to black, to completely black? That's kind of weird, that this base color is still working with us, basically. Let me change this here to 0, whatever that does. Okay, just simply makes it black. Okay. Okay. So yeah, this is just how we can make glass. It seems like we also have to work with the base color a little bit if we wanna do something to the glass actually. I will just leave this at white right now, and then we can also change, like I said, this attune and distance. There's a really nice video on the homepage of Houdini. There's a mantra tutorial also where you can see this a little bit better, what this attune and distance is doing. If you want to rendering some diamonds, you probably need some dispersion. I can't remember how much dispersion you really need for diamonds. I think it's a really, really low value, like something 0.04 something. I don't know. We will just switch this back to 0. Really depends on how much dispersion you want to have. Of course, you also would need to change the IOR to something like 2.41, I think it was, or 3, or 7. I'm not sure anymore. Oh, there's a really nice girl that sent me an invitation on Facebook. Okay, this looks really, really real to me, this girl. I think she really wants to be my friend. And I think she has a lot of character if we look at this area right here. This seems absolutely legit to me. Absolutely legit, this invitation. Perfect. Anyway, so I think 2.41 or 2.43 would be something like that you would be working with diamonds with. But let's change this back to normal glass, to 1.5 or something like that. So this is how you would create glass. This transmission color and base color, this is something that really throws me for now, while we can add here 2 different colors, to be honest, because if as soon as I type in here transmission color, I only want it to be red, to be honest. So I'm not sure why I have to do this here in the base color as well to really make this red. But it just seems to be like that, so that's just fine. So let's change this transparency back to 0. So right now we would get a red plastic dog. And let's maybe change this here down a little bit to a darker red. Let's maybe just simply change this here to some kind of, I don't know, bluish thing. No, this is all really too much for me. Let's just simply make it kind of grayish or white, or what do I know. So the next point is subsurface scattering. So we can just simply pull this up here to 1. And this is just simply, I mean, I hope that you know what SSS is, so subsurface scattering. It just simply will just throw in some lights, some rays actually, into the object, and then they're scattering around, and then they will leave the object in different directions again. And depending on our settings, the rays will go much more far into the object or much less into the object. And this really depends on what you want to create. Do you want to create milk? Do you want to create butter? Do you want to create orange juice? This is everything. Or do you want to create something like strawberries or something like that? These are all things where subsurface scattering will be used. But the thing is, you have to adjust here the subsurface distance, of course, and the subsurface color, of course, of what you want to do actually. So for butter, it would be definitely be a different distance than for milk. We can, I don't know, change this up. So as you can see, subsurface distance at 10 gives us a result like this. Let's maybe do it with a lower value with 1. So as you can see now, the rays are really going more far into the object. And if we change this to 0.5, it will become more dense, so the rays are going not in so that far. I think I will render this out. I think we can also change the surface color here to maybe some kind of orange. So we're seeing here a little bit of a result, what is going on. Right now this looks a little bit weird. But I think Houdini needs now some time to calculate this, as you can see. So there is And it will also be not clean. It will still be extremely noisy probably, because we would need to change our render settings as well. But yeah, the subsurface scattering is working really, really good here. So as you can see, the outside is kind of white. And then on the inside, when we're going more far into the object, it starts to getting a little bit more kind of orange. And you can also change this mode here from single scattering to full subsurface scattering. Full subsurface scattering will always give you a more realistic result. Single scattering, I think, will give you only one bounce of the ray. I'm not sure 100% right now. But yeah, as you can see, this will take some time till this is really completely calculated, and I don't think I want to show you this right now, how this looks. We can do this in a final rendering test then. So let's turn back down the subsurface, so we're not using it anymore. So we're going back to our normal plastic. And then we have also this sheen, and sheen is something that you would use for all kind of cloth things and pillows and what do I know, because this sheen really, really helps to make something look like, and I think we have to throw up here the roughness to something like 0.9 or something like that, and or maybe 0. Yeah, I think 0.9 might be fine. With the sheen value, you can definitely make much more realistic claws, because even though cloth is not really reflective, it will still throw light a little bit back, and it will still do a little bit something to the light, or the light does a little bit something to the claws, and this is exactly what this sheen value here does actually. And let me also up here the sheen tint, and let's see if we can find here some difference. If I turn this off here, the sheen, if we're getting something different than when I turn it on. I think it looks now a little bit darker actually. Let's maybe, I don't know, let's maybe focus only on this area here. If you're holding down Shift and then drag this out, this window, we can just simply make here a little bit of an area that we want to have rendered actually. So as you can see, it's going pretty fast. Yeah, that's looking good. And let's try it with sheen on now. Okay, doesn't really make much of a difference, but this is definitely what sheen is doing. We probably need to read into this a little bit more. And then the last thing that we have is actually the emission. And so if you want to use these dogs here as a light source, actually we could also do this, and we just simply make this white now. And so turn the light on basically, and as you can see, let me jump back here to progression mode, and let me also make this window here a little bit bigger. As you can see, now we're getting here the dogs to emit light actually, so this is what the emission color does. And yeah, about the sheen, I think we need to create a little bit of a different test scene to really see what sheen is doing to some kind of cloth material and so on. So let's turn this back to black, so we're not getting any emission here. And then you can also adjust here the emission intensity, of course, how much light really gets created, or how strong this light really is. This is what you're doing here with the emission intensity, but I think this should be self-explaining anyway. Okay, so I think that's basically it for this principal shader. We can also do a lot more with this thing. We could also load textures, of course. We can load different maps for our roughness. So we have a roughness map, so not everything looks completely even. We can use here the opacity if you want to. We can bring down here the opacity so that we can see through these dogs a little bit, as you can see, which you might want to use somehow, sometimes. I'm not sure for what right now, but you can do this here with the opacity. We could also here enable caustics. In this case, it's called fake caustics. So probably, yeah, as you might have guessed, the caustics are not completely 100% accurate, but we could also do that. As you can see, it gives us a little bit of a different result. Even thought there are not really any there should not be created any caustics at the moment, so we can just simply turn this off. We don't have any glass in the scene right now. Then here textures, we could also use textures in here and can load them here if you want to. We can also do this with a node. We can do bump mapping, as you can see. So we can enable this in the base, and then we can just simply use here a texture path to get our bump mapping and normal mapping. We could also use a normal map here if we want to. And then also separate code normals. I'm not sure what that is, to be honest, right now. I think probably a second bump map or something like that that you can use if you want to build a more complex material. Then we could also use displacement here. Custom input, this is probably where we could maybe program something, I'm not sure. Texture is of course texture input if you want to load a map. And noise is if you want to use the built-in Houdini noise. So we can go here with a simplex noise right now and let it render here quickly if you want to. I think the value here is now a little bit high with the frequency. So let's just reload it. I think Houdini is working right now because of the displacement. Creating displacement geometry right now, so this will take a little while, I guess. And yeah, this will take, okay, starts rendering. The good thing is I can roll up myself another cigarette because I did change from normal cigarettes to rolling again because it's just simply cheaper and I like it a little bit more. So I will use this time for this. But I think I will just simply pause the video because this will really take some time now till this is really calculated here. And as soon as I said this, of course it did start rendering. That was pretty much clear. So as you can see, this is what we're getting with some displacement right now. Looks kind of crazy, but yeah, this is just what the noise does with this. No, I don't want to quit. This is just simply what it does here. And yeah, looks pretty cool. You can use different noises here. You can play here with the frequency, with the amplitude, roughness, attenuation, turbulence, and so on to get the displacement that you desire, of course. So yeah, that's basically it. And I think we will just simply create now different shaders. We will create here now a dog shader that I will call plastic, because I think the plastic will just simply render better. And then I will just simply make another shader here, or just simply duplicate this here and call this here dog shader red diffuse, because I want to show you guys now a little bit something. So first of all, let's make this plastic here. Let's jump back here to the surface, bring down the roughness to maybe something like 0.15 or something like that. And here in this red diffuse, we will just simply go to the surface, change this here to a red color, and bring this up here to roughness to 0.9. Okay, it is already there, which is good. Transmission color doesn't really matter because it's not getting used. And let's say we want to have like maybe, I don't know, like some selection tags like in Cinema 4D. Let's say we want to have the face we want to have with a red shader or with a different texture that we want to have the rest. How can I do that? And it's actually not that hard to do that. We can jump into our scene view, jump out of the camera, and what we can do now is we can, how do I do this? Let's go into the object level. Let's jump into who is a good boy. And here in the material, I can just, we have this, right now there's a dog shader plastic. And this is assigned to our completely dog. So the red shader is not assigned right now. So what I can do is I can make a second material. Let's go material. And let's call this here, what is going on? That is not good. No, 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 no. No, I don't want to have this connection here, sorry. Come on. Yeah, thank you, okay. And we will call this here dog plastic. And we will call this here dog diffuse red. Okay. And now I can make a selection tag. Let's say I want to have maybe this leg around here, something like that. I want to have red. What I can do, I can click this button here where it says group. And this opens up now some possibilities for me, as you can see. This window just popped up and also this up here changed a little bit. And now I can go to faces, I can go to points, I can go to primitives or whatsoever. Let's go to points. And now I can zoom in here a little bit, if I can zoom in here a little bit, because it's not that easy with my mouse right now. Yeah, okay, it's working. And now I can just simply start to select here some points, maybe here the dog's nose or something like that. So all those points are now selected. We can deselect those here by holding down the control key. And then I just simply hit enter. And now those points that are selected are in this group actually, and they will all now work with this material here. And everything else will work here with this dog plastic material actually. So let's jump back into our camera before I'm going nuts. And let's also change this here maybe to smooth shaded. I don't know why I'm still seeing this here, and I will also activate, what am I doing here? Okay. I think I will just activate this transform node here again. And if you're going now to the render view, this should work now if I have done everything right, but maybe not. As you can see, which is kind of weird to be honest. And I don't know why. Because there is no material selected in this material slot yet. Because we only have here the dog plastic loaded, but we didn't have loaded anything here. So we need to load our dog shader red diffuse, accept. And now we should get here some kind of change. Still not, okay, which is kind of funny, I guess. Why is it not working this way? I think that's really kind of funny. Maybe this is not working in here, but I'm not 100% sure right now. Let me switch back to the scene view. And let me see what I did wrong. Is this not working like this? Okay, now we're getting a red nose. If I switch this on here. Let me go back to the render view. As you can see, this shader now is not working anymore. So I think what we could do is we could just disconnect this here and just simply put this dog plastic under this one and then activate this dog plastic actually. Now I think we should get both. Now I think both should be working. No, it's not. This material actually overrides the other material. Okay. So this is not working this way, so we have to do it a little bit differently. So we'll keep those two shaders that we just created, the dog plastic and the dog diffuse. And I really would love to disconnect this here right now. So what we need to do is we will now create, actually everything is working with UVs inside of Houdini. This is just how Houdini works. So we will create a UV node. We'll type in UV. And we can use two different things. We could use UV texture, or we can use UV project. And for now, I think we will just simply use UV project because it's a little bit easier to handle, I think. And we will turn this on. And for now, we will just simply go UV. And I think there is UV quick shades. We will load this. This will just simply give us a UV map. So we can see in the scene view how this UV map actually does look. And let me activate this down here. And as you can see, this is how our UV map right now does look on the dog. I'm not sure if this was ever unwrapped, but it doesn't look too bad, to be honest. So I will just try to zoom in. And as you can see, okay, they're not perfect, but the UVs are not too bad. This was actually after the scan, I think, UV unwrapped, so it looks kind of pretty good. In this kind of, because inside of Cinema 4D you can do something like cubic mapping, you can do something like spherical mapping, cylindrical mapping, and so on and so on. You can do that inside of Houdini as well, of course, if you want to. And here inside in the UV project, you can change this here. The only thing that pisses me off right now is that I'm always seeing here the geometry, which is not good. I think it has nothing to do with up here anything. No, it does not. Okay. Anyway, here you can change the protection. First of all, you can say vertex or points. And then you can change here the projection from orthographic. You can change it to polar, which you would probably use on a sphere. As you can see, this changes this whole thing completely. Now it looks something like this. The UV mapping. Let me zoom out here a little bit if I can. So it looks like this, as you can see, but also not too shapy, to be honest. At least not down here. And we could also change this here to cylindrical. Then it would look something like this, as you can see. And then we can also change the texture scale here, of course, if you want to, in the quick shade. And also up here we can translate it, rotate it, scale it, like you would do it in Cinema 4D, our map. And then we can bring it to toroidal, which would look like this. And then we could also bring it to plastic rub, which would look like this on our object. So I think the best thing that we can do right now, the mapping that did look the best here, of course we could also do a UV unwrap, but I think it was already unwrapped, so it looks kind of good. We will just go with orthographic, and yeah, this is the map that we are getting after all. So this is what orthographic does look like, which is kind of nice. So what we can do now is we can just simply delete this quick shade node, because I don't want to see this UV texture here on here anymore. So let's delete this. And what we can do now is just simply select points here inside this UV project here. So let's go inside there and click this arrow again. And as you can see, now we're getting here this mode again. And we will switch here to points. And now we will just simply start to select here the dog's nose maybe. And just simply hit enter. And this should give us all the points that we need. Inside here in this dog diffuse, we will just make a double click inside here and delete this out. Hit enter again, so we're not having any points selected anymore. And now, just a second, let me think about this. It's not that easy for me as well. I will just pause the video right now. Okay, alright, I think I made another mistake. We need to delete this out here of the UV project. I think we have to make the selection here inside the material. But I don't think we need two materials for this, but I'm not sure. Okay, so let's take this dog diffuse red again. Let's click this group button here again. What? Not enough inputs. What do you mean? I think I have to connect this node first of all before it's working. So let's connect this node. And now let's hit this button again. Yes. Now let's change it to point mode and let's select the dog's nose again. Like this, maybe, and let's get rid of this here. Okay, perfect. And let's hit enter. And this should now give our dog already a red nose actually. Only here, the front. This should already be working. Yes, so as you can see, now we have a red nose only for the selected things that we need. Which is kind of cool. That's fine. But let's say we wanna now we want this now to be combined with a second shader, and I'm not sure if this is working right now. I'm just guessing it works right now. We can add another group here. If we just simply click on plus here, we can add another group and can add here another material actually. So group 2 is this, where we have this red diffuse, and group 1 is this. So let's try to load our plastic material now right here without any other points selected, and let's see if this is working now. This would be kinda nice actually if this would be working like this, but I'm not sure if it's really working. I also have some problem here with zooming, honestly. Okay, now it's working. Let's see in the render view if this is now diffuse or if this is plastic now, but I think it is plastic and we do have a red nose. Let me jump into the camera actually, and let's go to the render view and let's just restart the rendering. And as you can see, this is now working. We have now the plastic shader in here, and let me see if we have anything. First of all, let me delete this material here. We don't need it anymore. If we have anything here, no, everything is empty. So everything should just simply work here with this one material node now. In this one group, we have the red diffuse assigned with the points that we wanted in this group. And in the first one, we have the plastic material with no points selected. So it will just simply throw the shader everywhere where not other material is applied. And I think this should work. Let's try this with, to make sure of it, let's try this with a third material. Let's create here a brand new shader, principal shader, and let's call this dog shader orange plastic. Okay, and let's make this kind of orange here so it really stands out, and let's give it a roughness as 0.1 maybe and 0.56 here, something like this. Okay, okay, perfect. And then we go back into our dog, into our material that we created. Let's just simply call this here dog shader. Okay, and let's jump back into our scene view, jump out of the camera, and we will just simply create here now in this material a third one. So let's go plus. So the third one is our red diffuse with the selected thingy here. The second one is our plastic shader. Now in the first one I want to have some different points selected, so we'll click here again. Click here on point mode, or I could also click on face mode here if I want to. So like this. Oh, this edges, this is actually faces. Oh, is this faces? No, this is primitives. This is select edges. Select visible geometry only. How can I select faces? I'm not sure if this is possible here right now. Select vertex. Okay. Select primitives. Select edges. Okay, we will just simply select some points. We will just simply select here now the back of the dog. Let me zoom out here a little bit more. Okay, and we will just simply select this back here now. And say okay, and let's click enter. And now we'll give this whole thing also material, which we just created, our orange plastic, and let's click on accept. And if everything has gone right now, we should have now 3 different materials on our thing here, and I hope this does work. So let's jump back into our camera, and let's jump into the render view, and let's see what we're getting. Let's restart this whole thing, and it's actually not working, which I really need to say I do hate. Why is this not working? Maybe I have to bring this here. Maybe it has something to do with where this thing is at. Because maybe, because in the middle, the second group right now is our plastic shader. Maybe this thing here, our orange shader, has to be behind it so that it does override this whole thing. But I'm not sure, to be 100% honest. And the thing is, I also clicked now something, and I think Houdini just gave up on me, which would be really, really a pity, because I did not save this file in any single way, which would really piss me off right now, to be honest. This would be not good. Okay, okay, Houdini is working again. Yay! Okay, that's good. Okay, first of all, let me save this scene before anything else happens. So we can just simply here to save as, and I will just simply save this on the desktop, and we'll call this tutorial for now. And let's click on accept. Okay, so this is not working for now, which is kind of weird. I will just pause the video and find out where here really the problem is. Alright, so I fixed this, and the problem was here really the hierarchy actually. So I did not change anything. The only thing that I did is that the dog shader plastic, the main thing, is here now in first place. Then the orange plastic is in second place, and the red diffuse is in third place. So it seems like the material that needs to be overwritten needs to be just simply to be in the first place. So let me delete this again. So we just have our dog shader plastic here in the first place and the red one in the second place. And now we can just simply go number of materials 3, or just simply add here another group or whatsoever. Make sure that the dog shader plastic is here in the first slot. The red is in the second slot, and in the third one now we'll just simply go into our scene view. Make here this group select again. Switch to points, just simply select here a few points. Click on enter so that the points are getting added. Okay, let's maybe click enter again. And now we need to assign the material, which is our orange plastic. Go accept, and that's it. So this is how we can use this. As you can see now, this is orange, this is red, and this is our normal shader. So this is how we can combine different shaders or different textures to our model if we are maybe too lazy to do a UV unwrap or whatsoever. This is just how it works, which is pretty nice, I think, to find out. In Cinema 4D, I think it's a little bit easier, but basically these are just selection tags. And so yeah, this is how we can do this. Now, let's say we want to use a texture or something like that, and we want to move this texture around. This is now a little bit more of a tricky question. So first of all, let's maybe create here in our material network, here in the orange plastic, let's maybe go to textures and load in the base color. We will load a texture now. Let's maybe load here a UV map. So you can see here's the UV map now. It's a little bit weird, to be honest. It looks a little bit weird, as you can see. Well, it doesn't even look too weird, as you can see. Now we have here a UV map, and let's say we want to change this now. The thing is, I was trying this out yesterday, because we have now 3 different materials. Let's say all those 3 materials have different maps. Let's also load maybe a different map here inside the dog shader plastic. Let me go to textures, override the base color with some kind of map. I don't know, let's give it here, I don't know, a leather map or something like that. As you can see now we have some, okay, that's maybe a little bit too dark. Okay, that's brown leather. That's weird as well. Okay, I think I want to have a different texture that stands out a little bit more. Yeah, let's maybe sandstone. Whoops, okay, this is not working really. Because these are, yeah, no, it's not good. Oh, landscape textures, let's try it with a bark or something like that. Okay, this is not working. Oh my god, because those are, okay, forget about it. Let's, yeah, try it like this. Okay, this is now a tree bark or something like that, and the red nose should be something like, I don't know, something that stands out here. No, not really roads. Let's maybe give it, I don't know, something, wooden spoons, textures. Let's just simply take this. Okay, which is kind of weird. Let's take this. Okay, it's still red. Let's maybe set this here to white so it stands out a little bit or something like that. Okay, perfect. So we don't have any color added here. Okay, so let's say we want to move those maps now around on the object. Because we have textured it, but let's say we have here in the back maybe a logo or something like that. And let me take here the orange plastic and let me load maybe my CurseStudio logo so you know exactly what I mean. Okay, the logo is not here, which is kind of bad. Okay, this is an alpha, which is not good. Yeah, now you can see my logo here on the back, CurseStudio, my really old logo, which is not the newest one that I'm using right now, but who cares actually anyway. And let's see, we want to make this here now a little bit bigger, and we only want to see it once here in the back. So how can we do that? And this was a thing that I was thinking about yesterday really kind of a long time. Because right now we have 3 materials added, and normally you would just go right click and go UV UV transform. So with this UV transform we can now play with the UVs a little bit more. The problem is that this UV transform doesn't know what kind of these 3 materials that we have added right now it should control. And to be honest, I did not find out yet how I can add groups here so it knows which group it should actually control here. I mean, I could try to just type in 1 here maybe. Or what kind of group is this actually? Our orange plastic here in the back. This is 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's just simply try and in the number 3 here maybe. And let me also activate here the UV transform. And let's go 3. And let's see if we try to translate here anything. Let's just simply type in here random numbers in the shear, in the scale, and so on. As you can see, it's doing nothing here. Absolutely nothing, which is bad. What we also could try, what I also tried yesterday, we could just simply copy this here by double clicking this. Go to copy parameters by right clicking, copy parameters, and then copy this in here. But this is also not working, I think. Paste values, hitting enter. Oh, it is working, maybe. Let's see, translate, scale, and shear. Let's just simply bring this all back. Oh, as you can see, this is working. Oh, that's good. Okay, I like that. Don't know why it wasn't working yesterday. And let's see if it does affect any other UV maps on our object now. So let's go shear 20. And let's see if only the back changes. Or yeah, it's only changing this now, which is pretty nice. So it knows now which kind of group we want to control. The other workaround would have been that we're working with 3 different materials on this object and then use a different UV transform all the time, which I think is also working. I think it did work yesterday this way, but I think this way is way better. So we just need to tell you, okay, UV transform, control this particular group. So in this case, this group here. And I name these groups inside of Houdini. So you don't see all those numbers, that you just simply can call this group here maybe dog back. And I will just simply read now quickly how we can do that maybe. Well, okay, I tried now multiple things and tried to make these attributes here a little bit shorter so we can just simply have a name or something like that, but it doesn't seem to work, to be honest. So hopefully this at least works, what we tried here. So let me try this again. If I put this here to 20 inside the UV transform, this should do something at least for us. Yes, it does. Let's bring it back to 2. Let's bring it back to 1. Okay, that's good. And let's create another UV transform. And let's see if we can do this now also with the red one actually. No, come on, please. Thank you. And let's go up here, click in a dog shader. Click here in the UV transform actually. And let's find here the red one and let's copy this. Copy parameters. And let's paste values here in the second UV transform. And let's see if we can do now something in the second UV transform as well. Yes, we can. Okay, that's good. At least this is working. I'm not sure if this is like the best method to do this, to be honest, because I think we could rename those groups somehow so we don't have to type in all those numbers here. There's probably some kind of node. I mean, I did try it with group rename and then try to paste this in, paste value, and new name would be red or something like that. The problem is that it says not find this particular group right here. So it just gives me this output here and says just a second here, node info, just simply says no groups match per turn, so it doesn't really find this group that I'm referring to. It seems like, which is kinda bad. So yeah, I don't know exactly. Maybe I can look this up, which kind of group this is here. Oh, this is group 2. Okay, parameter is group 2. Am I just that dumb? Really? Can I just simply type in here group 2 and then it works? Really? Does it? I'm not sure, to be honest. I mean, I still get this info here that it's not working, but this would be kind of funny. I mean, like I said, I'm not an Houdini expert and probably will never be, not even in 20 years. Parameter is group 2, parameter is group 3. Can I copy parameter? Okay. And if I paste this now here, oh, oops, okay, it's still the same. Okay, let me get rid of this group rename. I really want to know this now, if it works like this. This is actually the red one is group 2. So if I type just in group 2, I probably need something else. I think group 2 is not enough. Yeah, UV transform cannot find this group now. Let me see if the she is working somehow. No, it's not. Can I copy this group value somehow? Copy parameter, that's the only thing that I can copy. Channel. Create channel group. No. Keyframes, no. Expression. Motion FX, no. Reference. Copy parameter. Copy parameter is the only thing that I can do. There's probably something that you can type in here to make this life easier, so you don't have to paste these complete values here. But it seems like to work. So this is the thing that we can do to make it work right now. As soon as I find out how we can shorten this up here, or how we can access groups in a different way, I will tell you right away. But this is how we can, for now, access our different materials and move them around. So as you can see here now, the CurseStudio one, I think this is, let's just rename this CurseStudio, and we will call this here spoon. This was from some wooden spoon, the texture. Let's activate this here, and let's zoom in here a little bit more. Come on, please. Just let me zoom. Okay, perfect. And now we could just simply make this bigger here. Scale, let's maybe go 2.2 or something like that. Oh, actually we need to turn this down to maybe 0.1 or something like that. Let me copy this, paste this, and then we could just simply, I don't know, translate this down a little bit. Let's bring this to 0. Oh, here in the Y. Bring this down to 2. Not really working right now. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Let's maybe make it 1.2 or something like that. Make it 0.3. Come on, where you at? Okay, let's go 0.5. So I can finally see my logo again. I think it's just simply lost now. Okay, let's go back to 0.1. Doesn't really matter. Okay. And here in the rotation, this should also work. Yes, okay, it's already rotating out of the picture. And let's see if this should also work, the translate actually. I'm not sure if this is really working right now. Why is the translation not working? This is kind of weird, that I cannot move this up or down. I think there's also a UV possibility that we could also move this here inside. Wait a second, how can I do that? Not sure right now. Okay, let me remove this here to 1. Let's see if I can do something now. Yeah, now it's working, okay. When I change this here to trans scale rotation, Now I can move this around, which is kind of nice. Now let's also up the scale here to 0.2 maybe. And now we just simply have to find this here somehow. Yeah, here we go. Now we can move this a little bit more downwards, maybe 3.2. Move it a little bit over. Okay, wrong direction. Let's go 19.5. Bring it in. Okay, that's good. And let's maybe bring it a little bit more down. 3.3. And yeah, I think that's... What did I do now? Oh, I did create a soft radius. Okay, so this is how my logo looks now, and this is how we can move textures around on our objects if we're just too lazy to do this in Photoshop or anywhere else. If you're on Linux like me, you're probably in a bad spot anyway, because you cannot really use Photoshop on Linux, only in a virtual box or something like that, which is not really so cool, to be honest. But yeah, I just want to show you how we can make selection tags and then how we can use our maps around on different objects. So this is just what we did, which is absolutely fine, I think, for now. Like I said, the only problem is really here the groups. I think we could rename this to a shorter term, so we don't have to paste in those values all the time. But this is how we can do it for now, and this is what will work for me for now, so that's absolutely fine. Let's jump into the camera. And let's make a quick render. I just want to see if everything works. If you really would want to render this out, actually. Let's see what's happening here. Why does this take so long? It's actually kind of weird. Okay, now it's working. Yeah, and I think everything looks fine. So yeah, this is how we can make selection tags, and this is how we can apply different materials to our object. In different modes, if you want to select points or faces or whatsoever. The only thing that I don't see right now is... Oh, okay, good. Yeah, here we have the spoon nose right now. Okay, so this is working as well. So we can just simply delete this for now. So we don't need our selection tags. We can just simply go now and create a little bit more of else if we want to. And I think I will... No, I will not pause the video. I will show you what I'm deleting so you know what you have to do, maybe if you want to follow along. So we'll just simply cancel this group here. And we will also cancel this group and only leave this one group up here. And we will jump into our matte network and delete all those materials here and get rid of this texture that we are using. And this should give us now our normal dog back, basically. So let's render this again. Oh, I have to unpause this here. Okay. So this is working, perfect. And yeah, now we can try to use multiple shaders on top of each other or mix them together or whatsoever. What you might know from Cinema 4D or from Octane or from Redshift or what do I know. So that we maybe in some spots we do have a plastic shader, in some spots we do have a metal shader, what do I know. I think I will split this up now into a second chapter where we'll go now a little bit deeper into shader creation to show you what we can do. And yeah, I think this was enough for the first part anyway. We did create a camera, I did show you how to build a depth of field, I did show you how you can load an HDRi and play with it, how you set up normal area lights, how you can load objects and create objects inside the scene. We did do a little bit with a band deformer. I showed you how you can assign textures to your object, how you can assign materials, how you then can apply different materials to your object where you want to have them, and how you then can move around textures on the object as well. So I think that was really more than enough for the first chapter and about shading and stuff like that. And in the second chapter we will dive a little bit more into shader creation, into really awesome shader creation and stacking shaders together and what do I know. And I think in the last part then we will go into the final render chattering, and I will show you how you can optimize the scene for final rendering and so on and so on. So thanks for listening. I hope this was a good introduction. Please leave a comment. If you have any questions, or if you want to thank me, or if you want to hate me, or whatsoever, just simply leave a comment. Let me know what you think. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next chapter. Thanks for listening.